Erin woke up and paused in front of the closed door to Leo's room. She could hear that he was still asleep and debated on waking him. It had been pretty late when they got back in, but she was a natural early riser. They had only had about 6 hours of sleep. She decided to let him sleep and headed into the kitchen. Rosa was in the middle of making breakfast.
I thought I heard you waking up.
She turned to look at Erin properly.
No Leo? Did he want to rest longer?
I didn't ask him. He was still sleeping, and I didn't want to wake him.
Rosa chuckled.
Do yourself a favor and wake him up. If he wakes up and can't find you, it will make him worry. He knows you're safe, but those mate instincts of his will force him to panic. He won't be upset you're waking him up, and in the meantime, I'll make you both some breakfast.
Erin turned around and headed back to Leo's room. She wasn't sure if she should knock or just go in. She hesitated for a few moments before deciding on knocking. She heard a tired GRPF from inside.
It's me.
She called. There was a whole lot of scrambling before the door opened to a disheveled Leo. She chuckled at his appearance.
I went down to the kitchen, and Rosa said I should wake you up so you didn't worry when I wasn't where you left me.
You make that sound so controlling.
Leo frowned.
Rosa explained that you wouldn't be able to help how you felt. I've got my disabilities, and in a way, you've got yours. You've had all this time to learn how to handle mine, so it's only fair that I take the time to learn yours.
The mate bond is not a disability,
Leo replied, sounding a little sensitive to Erin's ears.
But it is. Look what happened to Fauna. Look at what happened to your dad's parents. I worry about that. And tell me you wouldn't act differently than you normally would if I were in danger versus any other human in the same danger. We will become liabilities for each other.
Are you expecting to be in mortal danger or to be dangled over a cliff by a mustache-twirling villain, perhaps tied to railroad tracks?
He was trying to use humor to diffuse the situation. It was working.
I was thinking more like the swinging blade pendulum that drops ever closer to my tied-down body.
That was most certainly not a Looney Tune old-timey villain.
You took the good ones. The only other thing I could think of was a coyote with a very large expense account with Acme. What do you think he does for money?
Must be an Acme product tester. The only thing that makes sense,
Leo replied as they headed to the kitchen. He knew the worries were still going to be there for her, but there was nothing he could do to naysay them. They were true and fair worries, and certainly worthy of being processed by her before making a decision. Once they sat down, Rosa put full plates in front of them. As they started in on the food, she said,
Once you're finished eating, we're going to have you call into the school to get the location of the nearest portal back to the school. Once you have the location, we will make sure you get there safely.
That sounds perfect,
Erin replied.
It's the least we can do. You've helped us to connect with our ancestors and forge a new bond that will help us both. I don't think there is a payment high enough for that gift.
Erin blushed and couldn't think of anything to say. Once they had both eaten their fill, Rosa handed them the phone. The call was short and the portal wasn't far. Pedro and Lorena drove them out to the portal site. As Erin was getting out of the car, Pedro got Leo's attention and they had a whispered conversation.
Hey, what's your phone number?
Pedro asked Leo. He gave it and then asked,
Why do you ask?
Lorena and I have been working on melding our magics. We need to fine-tune some more, but Lorena thinks we might be able to help your mate. I'm not making any promises. It's supposed to be impossible, but Lorena is certain she's almost figured it out. Should she think we have something to tell you, I'll give you a call and you two can make a decision about it then. Don't say anything. I don't want to make her think we have something when we don't.
Leo grinned.
Alpha Featherwind told me about you. What's your last name?
Mendoza.
Looks like he was right. He said I shouldn't seek you out because you weren't ready yet. Sounds like you're probably going to be successful. I look forward to hearing from you again.
Pedro grinned. He had heard about Alpha Featherwind from Leo while he had been explaining about the marking of Friend of the Pack upon Erin's soul. The four said their goodbyes, and soon Erin and Leo were back at the school. They had to go and report to the survival class teacher to prove they made it back, and then headed to their own dorms to shower. Leo asked her to wait at her dorm, and he would come pick her up to go to dinner together. He was concerned about her doing more walking than she needed to do just yet. Erin discovered that Amy wasn't back yet from Denise, one of their bathroom mates. After showering and changing, Erin waited by going over a reading assignment from her Uncle Rufus to help prepare her for more difficult death and matter magics. This book was about matter theory and would help her to pull useful items from the surrounding area to create something new. While she could do something similar with her current level of magic, this would allow her to do it faster and more efficiently. She had opened her dorm room door after getting dressed so that Leo wouldn't have to knock.
See, this is how that mustache-twirling villain will get you, just leaving doors wide open.
Erin chuckled as she looked up from her book to see Leo leaning in the doorway.
I don't think such a flimsy door would stop a true mustache-twirling villain.
He grinned and gave a goofy shrug.
I suppose.
He looked around and gave the air a sniff.
I see Amy isn't back yet. Neither is Travis. Celeste is, though. Do you mind if she joins us for dinner?
At Erin's odd look, he explained.
I don't smell any recent scents of Amy. If she was back, they would be fresher.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. And yeah, Celeste is more than welcome to join us for dinner.
Okay, I sent her ahead and figured we would either be sitting with her or we wouldn't. Do you mind if I tell her about us? I think she's been suspicious. Our women are usually more observant than our men.
No, I don't mind.
Leo and Erin headed over to the cafeteria and they quickly found Celeste. The cafeteria was much less packed than it usually was, which was a combination of many seniors still being out on their survival class midterm and time of day. This was the end of day 4 with 10 more days left to pass the class.
When did you get back, Celeste?
Erin asked.
Yesterday. Turned out my Girl Scout from Wisconsin was a good choice. She used her magic to create dowsing rods, and then spelled them to look for humans instead of water. I felt completely useless. We were back in civilization in 2 days, and then part of a third to get to the portal back to school.
That's so smart. I wish we had thought of it. Leo had to use a ley line to get me to a pack quickly.
Erin replied.
You can make dowsing rods?
Leo asked, while Celeste asked,
Why did you need to get to a pack quickly?
I would have only been able to make the traditional version. However, we ended up in the desert, so finding water would mean finding civilization for us. And I'll let Leo tell you the tale.
Holy shit, we aren't supposed to be that close to a West Coast team, and we certainly aren't supposed to be dropped that close to a spiral dancer pack. You both could have died. Erin, you need to let your uncle know. He would want to know immediately that not only you are back at the school, but that this happened.
Celeste replied after hearing the tale.
It's a good thing you haven't found your mate yet. She would have been freaking out after hearing that.
Leo and Erin shared a look, and Erin made a gesture to him to tell his friend.
About that, Celeste, I'd like you to officially meet my mate, Erin Blackwell.
What? How could you not tell us? How could... Oh my goddess! You knew when we tried to intimidate her and you didn't stop us.
Easy, Celeste. I only just told Erin 2 days ago. I didn't want you or Travis giving her hints before I was ready to tell her myself. With that horrible start we had, I just wanted time. We aren't fully mates just yet, though. We're gonna try dating for now. Let Erin get used to seeing me in a different way than she has been.
Celeste looked over to Erin.
Has anyone had a chance to talk to you about our males?
A little.
If he does something you don't like or want him to do, and you know what I'm referring to, just smack him as hard as you can. He'll stop.
Erin chuckled.
So I've heard.
Geez, you're talking about me like I'm not even here.
Leo mock complained. Celeste turned her icy gaze to Leo.
If you had done the right thing, we wouldn't have to have conversations like this. In fact, you probably would be happily mated by now to her. So, Mr. Scaredy Wolf, you're going to sit there and let every wolf give her any advice we can think of, considering she didn't grow up with us. She doesn't know what we are like before mating, and she's not going to feel those same kind of feelings just yet. We have years of information that we need her to know in as little time as possible if you really want to make this work. You can't be a moody little prick that's upset because his mate isn't responding to him like he was always told she would. You, my dear asshole, are going to have to learn to communicate like you've never communicated before. Got it?
I know. Really, Celeste, I know. I have had many conversations with Alpha Matthews, my parents, and even some of the pack elders. I promise that I have taken this very seriously.
Good.
To Aaron, she said,
If you need anything, even if it's just advice, feel free to come talk to me. I would say, or Travis, but Leo isn't going to want you alone with him. And of course, I wouldn't want you alone with Travis either. I trust you both, but my instincts would get first say in my actions, and know that they will get first say in Leo's actions too. I need to preface that by saying we aren't idiots. Hellos, have you seen so-and-so, and the like aren't going to bother us. It's prolonged time alone that would. Does that make sense?
Territorial, I get it.
She turned to Leo.
You aren't going to get upset that I'm around my male relatives, are you? 'Cause that would just be weird.
Territorial is a good word for it, and no, for some reason, I've never seen a mate have issues with prolonged time alone with a relative. I think it's because strong blood relations carry a similar scent, like it's been absorbed into your soul, so that we don't recognize them as a problem.
Celeste put a hand to her mouth in shock.
Could you imagine getting angry that your mate was around your child for too long, just because they are the opposite gender, or their parent? That would be terrible.
She looked at Aaron.
Any daughter I have would be perfectly safe with Travis. And if she had female friends and he was the parent assigned to keep an eye on them, her friends would be perfectly safe with Travis too. Those instincts only pop up with potential partners. Leo told me about Alpha Matthews, letting you ride him back to the van after you witnessed Enya and Ramos's discipline. Your scent would have been all over him in a way that could have caused his mate distress. Once he was on Packlands, he would have gone to the little cabin out in front of the Packlands and called his mate to let her know everything before she ever had a chance to smell you on him. This is what I mean about improved communication for both of you. I need you to try and anticipate the things that could cause him distress because he will be doing the same for you, and will all help you.
She chuckled.
And him, things that seem normal to us aren't going to be normal for you. Oh hey, I got paired up with a guy in my mage class. Isn't going to be a thing that would be normal for you to think to mention, but it would be normal for me to mention something like that to Travis. Does that make sense? It sounds so controlling when you say it out loud, but it's never intended to be.
Celeste thought for a few moments.
Oh. This, right now. If you had stayed in your dorm and it was just me and Leo, I presume Leo already mentioned that I was here and you might be eating with me. He would have said that he intended to have dinner with me. And when Travis got back, even though Leo's scent would have left me by then, I would still let Travis know we had dinner. But you not being here and Travis not being here wouldn't have stopped me from having dinner with Leo. I would just want Travis to know. I would want Travis to know everything, not because I fear he would be angry or would learn of dinner from Leo, but because I love him and want to share everything with him. It's so hard to explain.
I think I get it. It's going to be weird, but I think I understand the whys of it. It's a mutual respect thing.
That's a good way to put it.
They had finished eating when Celeste said,
Okay, let's head to the student phone and you call your uncle.
Now?
Yes, now. I admit this is a werewolf mutual respect kind of thing. You love and respect your uncle, so let him know you're safe as well as the dangers you faced. You were never supposed to be in any danger for this midterm. My partner and I were literally strolling through a forest for 2 days. I didn't even encounter anything larger than an opossum. That's all you were supposed to encounter. You were supposed to be a little uncomfortable, maybe a little hungry or thirsty. Your legs were supposed to be a little sore from walking, but you were supposed to be safe. And you weren't. That means someone messed up. And they messed up at the West Coast school too. If that other mage is smart, she'll be telling her parents as soon as she's back at the school too.
I'll be letting my alpha know too, Erin. Celeste is right.
Leo and Celeste walked with Erin to the bank of phones that were available for students to call home. Leo took one phone, while Erin picked up another and began dialing. Celeste sat with Erin while she spoke to her uncle.
Oh, hi, Colby. Is Uncle Jacob home?
Yeah, hold on.
Erin heard a shouted, "Dad!" and chuckled. Colby would have known how to throw his voice, but chose to shout instead.
It's Aaron for you.
She heard the phone being passed over.
Erin, you're back at the school already.
Yeah. Celeste and Leo both agree that first I needed to let you know I was back, but also that something happened that apparently shouldn't have, and that you would want to know.
I'm listening.
He encouraged.
So we picked a direction and started walking. We were in the Sonoran Desert. Everything went well for the first day, and even the first night, until a few hours before sunrise. One of Leo's totems alerted him to something approaching. It turned out to be a student pair from the West Coast school.
She heard Jacob groan with dismay.
That went over well enough, believe it or not. But the reason they were so close was because they had been dropped down in sniffing distance from a spiral dancer, and they were being chased by him.
What?
We defeated it, but its death throw hit me, and Leo was able to race me to a pack with some enchanter directional help from the West Coast team. They were able to draw out the toxin. The next night, the spiral dancers attacked the pack.
What? Erin,
It's okay, Uncle Jacob. I got the dead to fight the spiral dancers. The pack didn't even need to fight anyone. I just wanted you to know that I'm safe. I'm not harmed in any way. But things happened that shouldn't have happened during the midterm. The vampire's name is Mark Benning, and his partner is Katie. I don't think I ever got her last name.
That should be enough information. It seems I have some calls to make tonight. I'll be by to see you soon. I assume that Alpha Matthews is also being notified of the situation?
Yes, Leo is talking to him right now.
Good. I'll call him tonight too. It will help us have a united front. What kind of vampire is Mark? I have some vampire contacts, and I may be able to get a hold of his sire.
I'm not sure.
Was his voice hypnotizing to you?
No.
Not a diva, then. Did he have a haughty air to him? Come across as commanding, or like he thought he was superior to you?
No.
Not a Ventru. Really ugly. Terrifying. Oh, wait. He would have been able to mask that. Might have had a smell to him.
No.
Not Nosferatu. Did he display any of his vampiric gifts?
He was really fast, and he turned his hands into claws for the fight.
Ask Leo if Mark smelled a little more animalistic than is normal.
Hey, Leo, Uncle Jacob wants to know if Mark smelled more animalistic than would be normal.
Leo thought for a moment.
Yeah. A little like a wet dog, actually. I don't know how you or Katie could stand him.
Leo says yes, and a little like a wet dog.
Gangrel. I have a gangrel contact. I'll see what I can find. Go and rest. You've clearly had an eventful few days. I'll probably see you in a few days.
Okay. Good night, Uncle Jacob.
She hung up and went to stand near Leo, who was still talking with his alpha. He looked up and raised his eyebrows in a "what's up" manner.
Uncle Jacob has a few contacts. He's going to see if he can find Mark's sire and Katie's parents. Mark was apparently a gangrel vampire, and my uncle will be calling Alpha Matthews either later tonight or tomorrow morning when he has more information.
Did you hear all that, Alpha?
Leo asked.
Good. Yes, Alpha. I'll be sure to get plenty of rest and to catch up on my schoolwork. Can you let my parents know I'm back? Thanks. Goodbye.
Leo hung up the phone and sighed.
I'm glad that's out of the way. He was going to keep grilling me about everything until you came over and gave me your info. He'll be happy to let your uncle handle the vampires and to speak to Katie's parents. Mages tend to be more involved than werewolves are with the schools, so he was happy to know your uncle was going to be calling him to get this handled.
I don't get it. You both have said it should have never happened, but I guess I don't understand why.
Basically, it means that something twisted fate. Some of the best enchanters scry for weeks to ensure they are setting students down where they are relatively safe. A bear, or a bobcat, or a mountain lion are one thing. A spiral dancer, or a werewolf encountering a vampire student are something completely out of the question. It means that multiple people missed it, and they will need to know why before it's safe to have us do the finals. If it's still unanswered, they'll have to figure out something completely different for the finals.
Leo explained.
Come on, let me walk you to your dorm.
Is your roommate back yet?
Celeste asked.
No, she was still gone when we left to come here.
Do you mind if I stay with you tonight? It's a little weird sleeping without Travis, so if I'm surrounded by someone else's scent, I won't be searching for him all night subconsciously.
Sure.
Celeste beamed and headed back to her room to grab an overnight bag. Once she left, Leo said,
She's also ensuring I don't sneak into your room tonight. She's protective of you already.
Was that your plan? Wait until everyone was asleep and then sneak into my bed.
We would both sleep much better after you finish beating me for startling you. But no, I'm not a complete idiot.
She chuckled and she gave him a hug before heading into her dorm room.
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. You can also support us by hitting the thanks button or becoming a channel member. Your generosity helps us bring you more stellar stories. Every bit counts. Thanks a bunch.